This Top 10 intro is brought to you by VectorStar Productions. Hey guys, so if you haven't seen our 20 through 11 list yet, go watch that first and then come back here.
The rules are the same as before. No super circuit retro tracks, and everything is based off on how unfun the tracks are and which saw the least amount of improvements.
So without further ado, let's go.
Number 10.
For number 10, we have Mario Circuit 2 from Super Mario Kart, but remade in Mario Kart 7. Now it has the retro look from Super Mario Kart. In fact, it looks like an exact replica, but 3D-ified. For nostalgic purposes, that's a pretty neat novelty, but it wears off quickly. At least for me it does, because I didn't grow up with a Super Nintendo. A couple of interesting elements within the tracks are a few pipes sitting out in the road, as well as a ramp that lets you glide near the end. The fact that I'm even calling those interesting is kind of desperate. Like many of the other tracks, this one is very forgettable and doesn't leave much to desire. I'm not even really a fan of the remade music. It doesn't have very much punch. This chorus, as well as some of the other ones, just kind of feel like they're on a checklist and just checked off. Oh hey, gotta add one SNES track for this game. Okay. This one! Alright.
Number 9.
And here's where the controversy for this list begins, but there's plenty more to come, trust me. This is Meadows, revamped in Mario Kart 8 and originally came out for Mario Kart Wii. The main difference between this version and the original is the visual presentation. My goodness, has the layout been upgraded. It definitely looks incredible. There's also an additional ramp added in around the middle of the track to support the gliders. These changes are not bad, but it doesn't feel like enough was done. My biggest problem with this track is that the main reason why it was even created in the first place was because Moo Moo Farm was such a huge hit. And that's fine that they wanted to make a subtle sequel to that track, but Moo Moo Meadows doesn't do enough to spruce up the formula. There's a couple ramps and Monty moles that dig around the course at the end, and that's pretty much it. It just feels like a rip-off course. I'd rather have the devs for Mario Kart 8 recreated Moo Moo Farms than this one. That would have been so much better.
Number 8.
Oh, don't freak out yet, I know you are. You're seeing DK Mountain from Double Dash on a worst list, but hold on! I'm talking about the remake on the Wii version, because boy did they screw it up. To start, when you first go down the top of the mountain, you'll find that these random ramps have been added in. Why are they there? I will never be able to comprehend the logic behind adding ramps to a goddamn mountain. Couldn't they have allowed us to trick off of, I don't know, the mountain itself? It seems like common sense to me, but this is Nintendo we're talking about after all. Then you continue driving down and realize that nothing else has changed, which isn't that big a deal because the original is already fantastic. But then when you start taking the turns, you realize how much easier it is. The main grip of DK Mountain was the difficulty. You freak out riding down the mountain because you don't want to fall hundreds of feet to your death. They widened the track to fit all 12 players, which didn't benefit the course considering the turns are now a cakewalk. Even with this reasoning, I'm sure lots of you will still be pissed that this is on the list. That's okay though. It happens.
Number 7.
And looky here, next is Peach Circuit, which originated from the Game Boy Advance Mario Kart. This one was made retro in Mario Kart DS, and I don't even know what's worth talking about for this one, like seriously. Peach Circuit has changed practically no elements to the original, aside from being in a true 3D perspective. The background, road, barriers, and environments are all exactly the same, even the music, which is kind of catchy, I'm gonna say, but it hasn't been improved on at all. I understand that Mario Kart DS was the first one to introduce retro tracks, and they didn't exactly try to innovate that much. I seriously wish they did for the drier courses like this one. There's nothing even remotely interesting about this track. I mean, there's no ramps, no boosts, no shortcuts, no anything. At least the background is kind of different, but that doesn't change the fact of how monotonous this course is. At the very least, it can be fun to play on every once in a while, but it's not any sort of a riveting masterpiece.
Number 6.
Here's a track that I really didn't like all that much in the original. Yoshi Falls in Mario Kart DS is the definition of bland. The fact that the Mario Kart Wii version did almost nothing to change the original just baffles me. First off, this doesn't seem like a Yoshi course at all. Yeah, sure, there's a big egg in the middle of the course, but you can't even see it that well while driving. This whole track is essentially a wavy loop and nothing else. The only slightly interesting part about this track is the fact that there's waterfalls you can drive through, some speed boost across a couple of the bridges, and the road is slanted on the sides. When you boil Yoshi Falls down though, you realize that it should have been named Yoshi Fails. This track fails at being creative, and I don't even feel a sense of Yoshi when playing this. I mean, come on.
Number 5.
At number 5, we've got Mario Circuit 3 from Super Mario Kart, but recreated in Mario Kart Wii. It really shouldn't be to anyone's surprise that this has made it here. To be honest, my points made for Mario Circuit 2 earlier are pretty much the same for this track, so I'm not going to go over them again and waste time. This track is lower on the list because there's even less elements of interest. There's some sharp turns and a boost at the end. That's all there is to it. It's a good track for just racing, but it doesn't feel zany or fun like Mario Kart tracks should feel. Man, maybe we should have just called these two videos the most boring Mario Kart Retro Tracks instead of the worst. I almost wonder if that would have been more appropriate.
Number 4.
I am so sick of talking about these types of courses. If you don't recognize it, this is Mario Circuit 1 from Super Mario Kart, remade in Mario Kart DS. As I've said, it's a starter track, yada yada yada. Now, I'm fully aware that it's supposed to be basic, but good lord, couldn't they have at least added a couple ramps in the sand to make you risk using a mushroom for a shortcut? Or maybe a couple of boosts here and there? God, this is just painful.
Number 3.
And we've made it to the courses that I genuinely don't like playing. Up now is Toad's Turnpike from Mario Kart 64. Another track on Nicobbq's best Mario Kart Retro Tracks list. Why do you do this? The remake in Mario Kart 8 is really quite interesting, and I can see a ton of people disagreeing with me in putting this on the list. The new things that were added is that now you can trick off the back of the surfboards of cars and ride on the top of the roofs of some of the cars, as well as drive on the wall. Now, this may sound like it's amazing, and I think some people really enjoy this remake for all the new things added. My gripe with this course is how streamlined and easy it's become. In the original game, the cars and trucks took a huge amount of space on the road. You felt like little pawns, and getting hit was a huge deal and could easily cause you to lose a race. Here, the cars and trucks are much smaller and are incredibly easy to avoid, coupled with the fact that you can avoid the road altogether by riding on the wall at some points, as well as gliding around in the air. I mean, I get it. Nintendo wanted to utilize the gliding and anti-gravity feature. That's fine. But I wish the vehicles were harder to avoid. I like the idea of having to very carefully weave around these huge cars. It was almost like compiling stealth with racing. I'm really curious to see if anyone agrees with my thoughts or completely disagrees. Probably the latter.
Number 2.
Now, this is a track that I've noticed a lot of people don't really care about, and neither do I. Neo Bowser City hails from Mario Kart 7 and was remade as DLC for Mario Kart 8. Now, here's the thing about the retro tracks in Mario Kart 8. The amount of innovation and creativity poured into the remakes are absolutely incredible. Wario Stadium is barely recognizable. Sherbetland created whole new section within the course, but what did they do with Neo Bowser City? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. This whole track looks like it's nothing but a straight up port from Mario Kart 7, aside from the improved visuals, of course. I have a big problem with that because of the reputation Mario Kart 8 had with their retro tracks. Their work here was so lazy. Interestingly enough, Neo Bowser City was a part of DLC Pack 2, the pack that was actually released early. Why they pushed out early, I don't know, but maybe if they hadn't, they could have tried improving Neo Bowser City with the extra time. But no, nothing improves. But now, it's time to learn all about the worst Mario Kart track of all time.
And now the number 1 worst Mario Kart Retro track is... If you've seen my list on the worst all-around Mario Kart tracks, you may have noticed that only one retro track was added. That is Baby Park from Mario Kart DS. I know, people love and praise Baby Park, and I do too, but only in the original game and in Mario Kart 8's remake. This one just feels empty and barren. And it's not necessarily the track's fault either. The problem is that there aren't any crazy items to make Baby Park exciting. There's no Chain Chomp and no Bowser shells. Those two items made Baby Park as exotic as it was in Double Dash. Plus, there's only 5 laps in this remix. Maybe it was the developers knowing the course was boring, so they made it even shorter. I'm just kidding about that last point. I realized they lowered it to match the playtime with the other tracks. But anyways, make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Huge thanks to my co-host Nicobbq for joining. Make sure to check out his YouTube channel because he posts some fantastic YouTube content. Leave a comment and tell me what you think the worst retro tracks are and why. Follow my Twitter and Instagram for updates on upcoming videos. I hope you have a great day, guys, and thanks for watching.